I played this game against Komodo 6, 64-bit. I was white and the time control was 5 minutes each. So let's take a look here. I played e4. c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, takes, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, bishop e3, knight f6, bishop e2, castles, d6 and f4. This puts a little bit more pressure on black, I think. And here the computer played knight to g4. I could play bishop takes g4, but then after bishop takes g4, queen takes g4, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, bishop takes d4. It's just an even trade. So I decided to play knight takes e6, and the idea is that after knight takes e3, knight takes queen, and knight takes queen, and we have just a trade. Now, this is a little bit difficult for white, perhaps. I mean, eventually I did lose a pawn, but I played the move e5 here, and black cannot take because of the pin on the rook. So bishop e6 takes, and again a bunch of pieces came off. I played rook d1, rook c8, and again we have a trade. Takes. I don't know what to say about this. My pawns are separated on the A and the C files, and the computer has 2 pawns connected. I guess that's the only thing you can say. I decided to play bishop f3, and maybe, I don't know, maybe the computer could have held on with something like b6, or I don't know. But this happened anyway. Rook takes, rook b2, bishop c8 takes and check. And then I just took, and okay, I'm down a pawn, but it's not so terrible anyway. I figured that there's no way black should ever be able to promote the pawn on a7, but you know, you still have to be careful. So I think the moves speak for themselves, more or less. I don't know what. I tried to cut the king off from the 5th file here. As you can see, I put the rook on rook a, well, on a5, and I'm also holding an eye on the a2 pawn. And I will keep my rook there as long as possible. Now I have to abandon the a5 square, obviously, because the black king is just threatening my rook. So I went to a8, and here I just started checking. Let's see, there's nothing going on here really. There was something the computer tried here. Let's see where it was. I mean, again, I was just checking, and the king moved back and forth. I couldn't really find any square to hide. And okay, now this could be a little bit dangerous in a blitz game. As you can see, the king goes to f1 here, and after rook e8, rook king g1. Now it would be a terrible blunder here, obviously, to play something like I don't know, rook a7 or rook a6. And if you don't know why, well, let's just say that after rook a7 here, for example, then rook b1, and white is forced to take the pawn on a2, because otherwise black would just promote to a queen. But then after rook takes a2, there's an immediate checkmate on b3 with rook b3 checkmate. So that would be kind of hilarious almost. So instead of that, and notice that this is very dangerous. This is the only chance black actually has, just waiting for a mistake, more or less. But I didn't play that, so I played rook king to h3. And the idea is that if now rook b1, I can actually take the pawn, and if rook b3 check, I have g3, and the black king is cut off forever. So that doesn't work, or well, let's say it didn't work. So the computer played king f2, and here I have to play king h2, because well, if I play g3 here, that would be checkmate. But if I don't play that and let's say something else, well, okay, it's checkmate either way. But let's just say that it hadn't been checkmate. But my point is that if I ever leave, if I don't go down to the second file here, the black rook can check, and then on the next move he'll just promote. But obviously in this case it would be checkmate, so I had to play king h2. And after king e3, I played rook a4. Not quite necessary perhaps, I could have played g3 also. Okay, so the king just starts marching against my rook, but you know, again, there's absolutely nothing black can do. So I don't know if there's any point in going any further than this, but the only chance that black ever had, just to go back to that, started from here on move 80 on with the king to g1, and again I just want to say that again, if white ever moves the rook on the a file, a5, a6, a7, it doesn't matter where, the black rook will immediately go to b1, threaten two things actually. One is checkmate and the other is to promote the pawn to a queen. But so one has to see stuff like that. So I went to h3, and h3 just stops everything. And well, like I said, the game just continued with a bunch of checks, and this was the final. Okay, we have a few more moves, but again, there was nothing happening. The final move was king f7, and again we have 3 pawns. Oh, by the way, maybe I didn't show how I actually won the pawn. Not that it was so exciting. The computer decided to give up the pawn because, first of all, the rook was on a1 forever, and there was no way to promote anyway. So here after rook b1, I just took the pawn, and that was that. Okay, maybe not a very exciting game, but it was, I'm still quite pleased with it anyway. It was a strong engine, Komodo 6, 64 bits, and well, I'll try to play more other engines later on, so see you then.